How about some more living word? Today I'm going to use words that look very similar and show how just the changing of the vowels, which essentially are the shapes, makes a huge difference. And then just a few letter changes completely change the meaning of what the whole word means. First, we'll start with the word strange. S-T-R-A-N-G-E. Remember, A is an activation point. So we say that subject plus reference activated a notion, generated expression. You haven't heard of it yet. It's strange to you. Strength. Change it just a tiny little bit. S-T-R-E-N-G-T-H. Subject plus reference expressing notion, generated plus here. When someone has a lot of ability to do something, we call that strength because it's expressing that notion, generated plus here. The word string. Now it's more identified with an I. That's subject plus reference identified notion, generated and grouped. It's a string. When the word just changes a tiny bit to the word strong. Subject plus reference ongoing notion, generated and grouped. It's able to keep doing it for a long time because it's strong, or not necessarily a long time. It has not just strength, it's an ongoing thing. It's strong. Now the word strung, like string, you could have a strong string, but when you say the word strung with a U, S-T-R-U-N-G, when you take a bunch of string and put it together as a unit or as an underlying notion when somebody's being strung along, subject plus reference underlying or unit, notion generated, strung. Now let's just change some of the letters too and say straddle. Subject plus reference activated, dia upon itself as it lie expressing. When something lies expressing and you stand over it, you straddle it because you activate dia upon itself, to and from, upon itself. You straddle it. Stride. Subject plus reference identified, dia, the expression. When something goes to and from itself in a straight line with the I, it's what we call a stride. Now when you say stripe, S-T-R-I-P-E, subject plus reference identified in place, expressing a stripe that's identified with itself, a stripe. Now the word strive, S-T-R-I-V-E, a subject plus reference identified, vital expression. When you really want something really bad, you strive for it because it's a vital expression. So therefore it's the subject plus reference identified, vitally expressed, strive. Staying along those same lines, we have words like hang. Here, activated notion, generated and grouped. When something is going to hang here, it's an activated notion, generated and grouped. When something is hung here, it's an underlying or a unit of notion, grouped and generated. You're hung. Now, in the middle of those, we have hinge, H-I-N-G-E. Here, identified notion, generating and grouping expression, the hinge of a door. So when we say the word thing, it's plus here, identified notion, generated and grouped. No E on the end like hinge, because a thing is basically what you're hinging your to any plus thought on. A thing. See how that works? Try to follow me here. And even though these may be silly words, you'll see that they make a lot of sense. And I'm using them as examples for the movement of the letters. So when you have the word ding, like when you have a ding in your car, or when you say ding dong, it's the dia or to and from identified notion generated. And then you would say dong, dia ongoing notion generated. So ding dong is the sound it's making, identified, and the sound that's ongoing. That's why bells make a ding dong sound. So when you would say dink, like as in the word dinky, it's to and from the identified notion, actively active. It's a dinky thing, dink. When you use the word sing, subjecting an identified notion generated and grouped from the once spot G, you would generate and group something, so you would sing. And then when you sink, that subject identified notion, actively active, sinks in the spot that it's in because it's kinetic, it's an active action from that subject identified notion. So just changing from a G, from singing, from that subject identified notion generated and grouped. Now you turn that into a K, and it turns into a K, which is intense. It's 11, so it's actively active in that spot. So you sink, subject identified notion kinetic. Same thing with the word that we just had thing, plus here identified notion generated. Now if you have a plus here identified notion kinetic or actively active, now you think instead of a thing. See how these tiny changes make a world of difference. And then these are just little words. When you start understanding what I talk about, how this goes into names, places, things, dates, birthdays. It really all applies, and it's so much deeper than I can ever explain just in a video, especially if it's just a still picture with some words and letters. If we sat in person and talked and had the time to really focus ourselves on it instead of feeling rushed, we could make huge progress in the world. That's why I'd like to start with children, because they're not completely rushed all the time. A lot of them are most of the time because of school and things like that, and because their parents have work obligations and such. But if I could start with kids and have them with open minds learning, when my intention is to show them how to use their creative thinking and to understand and care for each other and be compassionate, the world could change, because that's where it starts. It's not just kids who can do it, because adults who care can too. To refer back to when we did the STR words like strange, strength, string, strong, strung, just keep in mind that the vowel placement has a lot to do with the word's feminine nature, what nurtures it to the next subject within the word. If it only has one vowel, that doesn't apply. But if it has more than one vowel, the consonants in between are the action letters that change it, and the vowels are the things that nurture that idea. So when we get into words like strength and strong, notice there's only one vowel in a big, huge word with a lot of different letters moving and changing. We have the word string and strung. Just like there was strange, strength, string, strong, strung, because we had STR. We had a reference there. But now we have sting and stung only. There's no stang, there's no sting, there's no stong, because there's no reference there. But if we have a subject plus identity, that notion can generate and group when you get a sting, or it's a sting operation, because it's a subject plus identified notion, and it generates or groups from there. When we have a subject plus reference, we can express something, we can activate something, we can identify something, something can be ongoing, and something can be an underlined unit or something unanimous. See how things will change as your mind starts understanding this. And even just by hearing words, whether you see them spelled out or not, you'll be able to start to understand them. So how we did sting, it's subject plus identified notion generated and grouped. Now stung is when that's either a unit or an underlying or a unanimous thing. I got stung. He stung me. Wow, that really stung. You know, you said something that hurt my feelings and it stung inside. You could say subject plus underlying or unanimous notion generated and grouped. Now it's stung instead of sting. Now we'll look at a couple words that have the same pronunciation and sound exactly alike, but mean something completely different. You can associate them with an idea of an action being taken, but we'll just go into the words themselves. We have the word exercise and exercise. One is something that you can do. You can do math exercises, physical exercises, mental exercises, all kinds of things like that. And that spelling is exercise, because you express the center, expressing a reference, constant to itself, identifying a subject, expressing. So that's when you do an exercise of some sort. So if it's you doing exercise, you are the expressed center of the expressed reference, because you start with a vowel, so it's holding that place, and it's centered. Now it's expressing your reference, and it's the concept identified subjecting expression. So when I exercise, there you go. Or when you do a math exercise, or a exercise in some kind of skill, then it's literally that expression centered, that expressed reference, constant to itself, identifying a subject expressing. Now when you just change the vowel, and you say exorcise, when you exorcise a demon or exorcise some kind of evil being or ghost, then you have a expressed center ongoing reference. It's already there. It's already ongoing. So it's expressed center ongoing reference, constant to itself, and identified a subjected expression. So you're trying to get rid of it. See how that is? Like when you exercise, you just either try to get rid of weight, or you try to get better at something, get rid of a deficiency, your lack of understanding of some kind of skill, and you do an exercise for it. You're trying to get rid of that, and you're trying to center yourself more in it, because it's the expressed reference. But when you have an EXO, it's an ongoing reference, and you want to take that constant to itself, unseen, identified, and subject it and express it to get rid of it. See how just changing it the tiniest bit makes a huge difference. One is E5, and one is O, 15. One is more intense. It's already intense at O. So that constant to itself, unseen, you want to identify and subject it as an expression to get rid of it. The other one, you want to express it, constant to itself, to identify that subject expressed. See how it just changes the tiniest bit, but makes a world of difference. I hope you can see it, because I'm trying to give you examples that are deep. And since nobody has been really asking anything about what happens to us, I'm only trying to teach you the word, because deep down, the understanding of who you are comes down to how you communicate with yourself and others and the world around you. Other than that, you're living somebody else's dialogue until you understand the magic that you truly possess as the being you are. You are the universe in flesh. You are God in flesh. You are a Christ. You just don't see it that way because nobody let you know how important you are. And that's what I'm doing because I love you and because I care. So we'll do a couple more words. We're rounding up this episode with the words peace and peace. There's P-I-E-C-E and P-E-A-C-E. We'll do P-I-E-C-E first. That is a little smidget of something, or give me some of that. Give me my own individual amount of P-I-E-C-E. Placement, identified, expressed, constant to itself, expression. And then you go to the word peace, P-E-A-C-E. Not only is it P-E-Ace, as in all being one, it's a potential expressed one, or potential expressed active, constant to itself, expression. You could say unseen, but it's constant to itself. So when we say placement, expressing, active, constant to itself, expressing. So when everybody wants to be seen as one, it's the word peace. Potential express, ace, peace. And the other one is literally almost the opposite, because instead of it all being one, as one big piece, you want your individual amount. You want your piece of it. So that's going to be the end of this video. I hope that helped show how these words and letters, just changing a few things makes a big difference. I hope that really starts to show you some of that. So, till next time, peace. God bless.